Welcome back to All That Jam, where music has no limits. I am joined today by Hedvig Mollestad out of Norway. I guess you're in Norway now, correct?
That is correct.
Very nice, very nice. And we had a time change there today. I your publicity arm, whoever you have working for you, they reached out to me. I had never heard of you. You've been around 15 plus years, and I was simply amazed. It fits so squarely in my wheelhouse of the power trio and the instrumental. It's just exactly what we need sometimes. But why don't we jump in at the beginning? Tell me how the band got together and any changes or that have happened, or is it the same two people?
We're still the founding members.
Very nice.
And it's kind of a boring story, actually, because I was awarded this jazz prize. We come from this jazz world. In Norway, the jazz scene is very strong. Has been for the last, since the 60s, 70s.
Okay.
So I was awarded this jazz prize because all these jazz festivals in Norway have these talent prizes. And at the time I was 20 something, 8 or something. And then I sat together and very many people that get these awards decide that now I'm going to put together the greatest stars and the biggest band and really like hit the big drum for this, make it a party. But to me, I had been studying and I didn't at the time really had found my own voice. I didn't know what I wanted in a way. So I really wanted to found a band that could stick together for more than just that show, more than just that concert. So
Right.
yeah.
I was going to say that was molded jazz. Is that how you pronounce?
Molde International Jazz Festival, which is one of the two biggest jazz festivals in Norway, and that's existed since the early 60s and had all the big names played there back then.
That's fascinating that it's been going on since the 60s. Obviously that's a thread that the jazz part is run through what you do, but you also embrace the rock. Was there a big rock scene too growing up?
No, not at all. Not for me, at least. There was, but it wasn't present in my life.
Right.
Neither the city that I come from is Ålesund on the west coast.
Okay.
There was nothing much happening.
I hear you. I hear you.
People were fishing and talking about the weather.
Right.
But my father, he used to be a jazz musician, and he was also connected with this jazz festival in Molde. So the rock scene wasn't present for me until this is it, I mean, in my 20s.
Right.
I really went the opposite way as very many guitarists do, because I never played in a garage band when I was a teenager. Never did. I was just listening to Jim Hall and digging into the jazz stuff, and I was not interested in rock music at all. But at the time I became in my 20s and I was introduced to hard rock that made such a huge impact on me, and I could kind of be freed from all that jazz stuff.
Right.
Jazz stuff. And finally I could play loud, actually, and I think that's the reason because I didn't have that in my teenager. So I became a teenager when I was 20, and when you're 20 you're kind of set. So I'm still there.
Yeah. I love it. So the other two members are Ellen Brecken and Ivar Bornstad on bass and drums, respectively.
Yes, she was. We had been playing a little bit in other constellations. She used to play the double bass and the electric bass, and she's such a lovely girl. She's so easy to like, and she's so comfortable wherever she is and whatever she does, and she's so easy to be around, and she's very flexible musically. And Ivar, I had listened to him at one of his exams where he played with my teachers, and he was making a huge impact on me, and I really thought I have to play with him at some point. But we all come from kind of different places in music. Ivar and me, he had been listening a lot to that kind of 90s rock and roll, and I was more into the what should I say, 70s rock and roll maybe, and Alan was into the 80s.
Right.
So it was Rage Against the Machine versus Toto versus CC Top. So it was
I love it.
yeah, but we had some kind of places where we met, like musically.
Right. You guys look like you're having so much fun. I watched, there was an hour-long setup on YouTube from, I guess, 2017 in
Okay.
Tolum. It's Tol. I can't even. Oh, everything was written in Norwegian or something.
Of
It was
course.
another language, and I couldn't really read what it said, but I loved you'd be sitting there, you're looking at your guitar, and then you'll look up and you just smile, and I'm like, what is she here? Something just connected there with the other two of them, and it's such a beautiful thing to watch. I guess 15 years is a long time, and really a special thing to work with the same two people,
Absolutely. And I mean, we weren't that experienced when we started to play together. So we have done a lot of, things from scratch, from like coming up with what kind of music are we going to play, being musicians that wasn't kind of, we didn't have any, specific about us, that I was only doing this and he was only doing that. So we had to find out that by playing gigs and rehearsing a lot and making a lot of music, but also, through studio sessions where you kind of, in the beginning, you are very stressed out and there's a lot of tension, and I mean, everybody cares for the product, but you can't, the only thing you hear out of those is the sound of you, and none of us like that,
Right, right. I hear
When
you.
you played wrong, we have to take a new, but we did all of those things together, and we have, luckily we've grown, we have spent so many hours in that band,
Mm.
laughing, quarreling, and we have spent so many hours on stage and off stage, and we are really, really, really close friends now. I was Ivar's best man when he married just a couple of months ago,
Nice.
and
I love
yeah,
it.
we are. It's a strong bond.
It's fantastic. I absolutely love it. So let's talk a little bit about how the magic happens. Would like what are the songs listed as for a writing credit? Do they go to the band, or is it just you, or is it
It's they differ.
right?
In the beginning, as it was my project starting out, in the beginning, I was the one that made most of the songs, or whatever you should call it. I don't know. Do you call it songs when there are no lyrics?
I always say that it's a song with lyrics, it's a composition without lyrics.
All right. So, but the composition sounds so
Formal. Right. Yeah, I know.
because I have written compositions for bigger orchestras, and this doesn't feel like it's but at least what the music we are working with, I was the one, especially in the beginning, making those ideas and those
Right.
structures and the stuff we were going to play, but they were making stuff too. So it was a little bit, I was always kind of saying that, okay, people, I take the responsibility for that. When we meet and when we go into the studio, we have material that we can work with. But it was more and more important to both me and the others, I think, that they also contributed,
Mhm.
because I mean, you play very different when you play other people's music, and you behave also very different when you're going to interpret other people's music, because it's much more easy to be mm, to be critical to your own ideas.
Right.
But when other people come with ideas, you get another kind of attitude. You really want to make it work,
Mhm.
and you don't have to say, "Oh, this is probably nothing, but we can try." Then you are
Right.
very, and you. So it was kind of, I look at it some kind of, when you go into therapy with your partner,
Mhm.
you get a third person, you have to
Right.
behave a little.
Right.
So
And also trust, you guys. I mean, in the beginning, you're in the beginning. Over the years, the trust factor, I'm sure, has grown. I mean, you guys are really a well-oiled machine when you play live,
Mhm.
and you can just see that the trust is there. That you'll let the drum solo go, or you'll let somebody else take control and steer it.
Yeah, absolutely. But we have failed so many times.
Hey,
I mean,
that's why we show up, though. I show up to see a band because they might fail, that they're
yeah.
willing to take the chance, and it isn't. I tell you what, I saw ZZ Top 2 nights in a row once
Mm.
back in 90, 89 or something, and the between song banter was the same both nights. I mean, it was so scripted,
Yeah, yeah.
which is a letdown. I wanna see somebody, fall on their face maybe, and as long as they get back up and keep going.
Yeah, I mean, music is live music. It's supposed to be happening there and then, and even though you can prepare it, music it should be created when you play it, and then when you play with people, you definitely can't rely on that everything is going as planned,
Right.
because we are
Exactly.
people, and but I mean, that has been pretty important to us all the way, to kind of don't expect your players to do what they did last time you played this song, because if you do, then you're not really ready for the music. You have to
Right.
be. I think that is kind of the jazz attitude in it, that
Mm,
you expect it to be and want it to be something else, to evolve from the last time you played it, even though you don't want to ruin something. You don't want to fuck up a really good idea just to do that.
right, right, yeah, there's a line. There's a
Yeah,
fine line there. Um, I tell you what, from 11 to 21, you guys released a bunch of albums. I'm guessing that Ding Dong, um, Smells Funny was the last one before COVID. I always see COVID as being this huge marker, and as the years go on, it really is a turning point in a lot of people's lives and careers. Was Ding Dong recorded during, um, COVID?
yes,
Okay. Okay, can
it
we
was
talk a
recorded.
little bit about how COVID affected you, how that album came, and then get into maybe why it's been 4 years since that came out?
Absolutely, because well, after I'd been playing with the trio for all those years, being part of this scene and being a musician in Norway, you have. I started to, and I at the time, when in 2015 and 2017, I had children
Okay.
as well, which kind of changed the rhythm in my life, how much I was able to just stay on the road. So I was looking also for other possibilities of spending time with music, and still, being a mother that was present.
Right.
And that and so especially after 2017, I started to search for more composing and to write more music, and with that came quite some opportunities to write the commissioned works and to start other kind of projects. I had several solo projects, smaller and bigger, in that period, where that I both composed and recorded and released and toured with. And I think that was nice both for me and the others, that we had this pulse going, that we could work more, because then we had rehearsed a lot, we had practiced a lot, we had played a lot of gigs, we had released a lot of albums, so it kind of suited everyone that we just worked more project based. We're going to release the record, we're going to tour now, and I mean, as we are a non-commercial act, we can tour whenever, because there's no pressure on having a new release. But when the pandemic arrived, as we were a trio, it was very easy to kind of set that as the family, that you kind of the cohort that you are allowed
Mm,
to spend time with. So I the year of the COVID, I wrote a big orchestra work for that was called Maternity Beat, that was recorded a couple of years later. And I also worked with the music for Ding Dong You're Dead.
okay.
Mm.
Very nice. Now, let me ask you this, how do you in a trio, there's nowhere to hide really, right? And as the guitarist, you're the lead voice, the lead instrument. When you play with these larger configurations, do you approach how you play differently? Do you see your role differently?
Yes, I mean, music. I think what you say about being the frontal voice, I think I kind of try to not think that all the time. I mean, we're three people or three musicians and three instruments, so it's really important to take care of And we are very non-produced. We are a live band, so it's very non-produced. But still, we have to think about the layers and where they are at what time and what they kind of what they are in the music. Are they up high? Are they lighting color? Or can they be in a dark color and be high up there? Is it possible to have light colors in the dark? You have to think about it in more kind of detailed terms than drum and bass and then the melody on top. So
Right.
I think we try to think try to think like arrangement when we write the songs. Dynamics, how are they going to be? How many do we need? More space here? How can we make this section smoother? What does it need? It's so I try to think about that a lot when I work in the trio. And as you say, you can't hide. You always have to. Your choice is kind of always very visible. Whether you play loud, whether you play softer, whether you play a lot of So it's I'm thinking very compositorical or arranging mental about that.
I hear you. No, that's a great answer. That's a fantastic answer. I just, I know working in small groups with things I do, like different projects that I've worked on, I've always found maybe a little more challenging because there was, like I said, less place to hide,
Yeah,
within it.
and that was the reason that I wanted to start a trio as well, because it's to the point. What you do is to the point, whether you do something or not. It's just very, very visible. But when I started to work with bigger ensembles, the problem was more about how could I keep my sound, because when playing with Alan and Ivar, I was very reliant on their on the space between their hits and their notes.
Mhm.
That was also where kind of my place was. It was not the time when I hit the note, but the way I could let it live, or the things I could do in between them. So this, I think it was really, really hard to kind of keep the loud guitar
Right.
in when I brought in reeds and more acoustic instruments, because you have to you have to take this kind of acoustic temperature.
Mhm.
When you play in a room, in the studio you can do anything, but when you play in a room you have to kind of match each other in a way. And if I was just going to turn my amp to the top, it would be an ugly sound together with the others. So I think that was my biggest challenge, how to keep the sound together with the acoustic instruments.
Right. Now, do you ever play acoustic guitar or do you strictly go electric?
No, strictly electric, yes, sir. No, I mean, I played this summer. Last summer, I had this. I was an artist in resident, and then I played the oud, which is an Arabic kind of lute,
Right.
and I played also the acoustic, but that was just because I
One-off kind of thing. Well, was that a conscious decision or you've just
absolutely. I wanted to. I have been. I had an encounter with that instrument, and I found it very, very beautiful.
okay.
And I tried to play it, and I was. It was just a goal that I wanted to have that instrument inside one of those projects.
Right. Right.
So I did. But I think it was okay to do it, but I'm really not at all skilled enough to continue with that.
Right. Same record label for everything. That's
Yeah,
pretty amazing these days.
or maybe. I mean, to me, it's yeah, maybe. But I mean, Rune, it's a record company, but it's just a guy.
Right, right, right.
And
But
he's
it's nice to have partnership with someone who appreciates what you do and is willing to continue to invest their time and resources in it.
I think he is very, very much one of a kind, and not least in kind of understanding what music is about.
Mhm.
And also, he's this is a record company. He's supposed to make money from this, so it's that he's giving us 100% artistic freedom is to something that is extremely appreciated on my side, and to have a collaboration where you actually feel understood, even though he's not an artist, he's a salesman. No, but
Right.
he's about passion for the both of us, and it's been wonderful to work with him.
Right, there's a guy, Kevin Cabaro, who's Royal Potato Records here in the States, and he's the same kind of way. He has a
Okay.
lot of bands, and he just, he does what he needs. And but the beautiful thing is, well, what he told me he's found is that people who like the stuff he puts out buy the records. It isn't like Warner Brothers releasing something. Is it like that with this guy? I mean, his fan base, the people who listen to his label, I'm sure are willing to spend the money to actually buy a record.
Definitely, definitely. I could feel that from the very beginning, that when we were there, we were kind of put in a situation together with all of Rune's acts, and that
Okay.
is how great is that, with all the fantastic players that he had signed to his label. Even though there was some are leaving and some are coming, but from Super Silent and Arve Henriksen and Maja Ratche, all those experimental stuff, until Stian Westerhus and other strange stuff like Moha that nobody has heard about, but that is excellent. And Shining was there at a moment, and not least Motorcycle, of course, in the later years, and Elephant Nine,
Right.
Bushman's Revenge. So much great music that you are kind of, so you are kind of put in a, yeah, what do you call it, as we say in Sweden and Norway? What do you call
Right.
it? You're put up between a lot of other examples and those people that are buying vinyl are crazy people.
Yes.
We
Yes,
are.
we are.
There's so many and we love them so much.
Right.
But
Well, I always say on this show, buy a CD, buy a record, buy a T-shirt, go see a show, because Spotify isn't going to pay any money. It didn't even go buy you a ham sandwich probably at the end of the month.
no, and it's kind of lower the rates. It's lowering the rates for everything, and it's kind of pissing on the art.
Right.
So I don't interfere with them.
Yeah, it's okay.
But
Right.
but it's really disrespectful to musicians. But they are just taking advantage of what the internet could offer at the time. It was,
Right.
and I mean the organization that was supposed to defend musicians and yeah, of course, everyone that is an artist, to defend their rights. They have been, caught in a back trap. They
Right.
are chanceless.
Right. They got so mad about Napstar, the record companies did, and
Yeah,
they basically handed everything away to Spotify, which is basically Napstar.
yeah, and suddenly it was legal. So they
Right.
made
Well,
it.
I've always said about Spotify, what people don't get, you go to Spotify, you think you're paying them for music. You're not. They're selling you a subscription. They could care less about the music.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And they are caring about earning money, and the money they earn go to their leaders, and their leaders invest in weapon industry. So
Yeah,
it's an ugly scene. It's a really ugly scene.
it is. It
That
is.
is even worse than musicians losing their income, actually. So
Right. Is this the bee in your bonnet, so to speak?
yeah, absolutely. That is definitely a bee in the bonnet for so many people in Norway. But we try to keep them in the bonnet.
There you go. So
And
the first, you have a single off the album, Golden Griffin.
yeah.
It's uplifting. It's more uplifting. It has a major key kind of feel. How did that track come together, and why did you decide that's our single?
I didn't decide that.
Well, there you go. So good. You have somebody who picked the right song for
Yeah, I don't
you,
know if
right?
you picked the right song, but to me, I will answer your questions. But I mean, the thing with when I have recorded with the trio and we have kind of settled for this, this is number one, this is number two, this is number, and this will be the vinyl. Then I'm just 100% happy, and I couldn't care less about what they want to put on as a single and what they want to put on as a whatnot. And then I just leave everything to someone else, because then I'm so just happy that everything sounds the way it should, and then they can put it out into the world the way they want to. But they picked Golden Griffin, and I think that was a good choice, of course, because but it's definitely the most uplifting song on the record. And I think I made it for that reason, because a lot of it can tend to be a little emotional, doomy minor chords,
Mhm.
and some of the topics on the record also touches on really, more serious stuff.
Mhm.
So this was supposed to be the playful song, the happy song, because we need that when we're going to play shows. We need something that is fun to play and that is hard to play, so we
Right.
can play some wrong notes and then laugh a little bit to us. So we're really looking forward to play this one live.
There you go. We got. Let me ask you about naming songs,
Yeah,
because, like, if you have Air Supply and you look at the song, they're gonna sing. Well, that was weird.
that was really weird.
That was. Who knows? Ghost in the Machine, huh? Um, you got Bob's Your Giddy Aunt,
Yeah.
Apocalypse Slow. How do you come up with a name? Because, sometimes with instrumentals, I'll look at it and I'll think in my head, because of the name, what the song's gonna sound like. And that's a 50-50 crapshoot, whether it turns out. How do you come up with the names?
Uh, that varies a lot too. If I haven't got a title for it when I bring it to the band, I have to find titles after we have recorded it, and that is hard, I think, because then it's very, very stuck to what we called it when we rehearsed it. So a lot of songs on this record is actually um, just from what we called it when we rehearsed it, and they are not very good, all of them. Like CC Bop, the first track is called CC Bop, and that was because yeah, Ivar put on a drum groove that was reminiscent to something you could expect from CC Top.
Yeah.
So of course we just called it CC Top, and then we had to realize when we had recorded it that we couldn't kind of name it something else because we had called it CC Top, and the technician thought it was called CC Bop when he entered it on the track list.
Right.
So we just stuck with that.
There it is.
But the Apocalypse Slow was just but when you look for titles after you have recorded and you want to kind of, yeah, you mentioned it being instrumental music, you can't kind of put a meaning to it, and that's the beauty of it, of course, because it's when you leave it to someone else, they are free to think what they want to about what they mean. And I really think too that that is what the song is about. If you feel that that song is about something specific, then that's what it is. I don't think that my kind of interpretation of it, even though I made it, is necessarily the right one for everyone, of course, because it's so individual. But the Apocalypse Low, which is the final track on the album, is, of course, it's kind of a, yeah, it's kind of how we see a lot of stuff that's going on in the world today.
Right.
Of course, times have always been bad if you want to see it that way. But it
Right.
feels now that, especially, yeah, after the pandemic, and something has changed.
Right, and it calls back to the movie, obviously, Apocalypse
Yeah,
Now, which
absolutely.
is brilliant.
Mm.
What are your earlier albums? Didn't you name after a movie? All of them witches? Isn't that like a
Yeah, that was 2 from, yeah, that was 2 from, and Ding Dong Your Dad is also to it's a subtitle of the, oh, what's it called? Haunted. No, what is it called? The Ring. No,
Oh, okay.
I've forgotten the title of the movie.
I know what you're talking about. I believe
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
My kid's a fan of the horror movies.
yeah. That's one of the finger that's hitting the bell. Yeah. Yeah, and also actually Shawshank from, the second record, I think, is from Shawshank Redemption.
Right.
So, of course, movies and also literature. I mean, Enfant terrible, the third album, that is a phrase that is commonly used in, yeah, in literature, and I read it in Patti Smith's book, actually.
Okay.
That's when you read and look for titles, you kind of find that very often. But Bob's Your Gideon, it's that is kind of, we have this tour manager who is British, and he has revealed the world of rhyming slang to us.
Okay.
And
Great.
I mean, the British language is very, very fascinating and very, very. It's I love the way they play with their language, you know.
Mhm.
Like rhyme and make things sound it's impossible to understand it unless you are one of the tribe in the tribe, you know.
Right, right.
And so Bob's your uncle is kind of a very funny way to say it's okay, you know.
Right.
And as we are a band with two girls, it felt right for me to kind of trick it back to Bob's your kitty aunt, which is to also a expression of and a very old fashioned way of swearing or showing your woo. So that is just playing with words actually. But the song called Ita that I should presume that it doesn't make any sense to you, but that's the name of a girl that is working for Medic Sans Border
Okay.
or Doctors Without Borders. So she's kind of that is kind of a homage to those people that are spending their lives on making other people's lives better in a very concrete way.
Right. Altruistic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Would you say that what you're writing now is more complex, more structured than what you did earlier?
Mm, I don't know actually. I think on this record several things are present, both the more structured songs like like CC Bop and Golden Griffin, that is kind of a squarish.
Mm,
But then there is also more open stuff, like Bob's Your Gideon and like Apocalypse Low. That is definitely more, I wouldn't say jam based, but it's more open structures and we're depending on the form rather than on the material itself. So it
right,
is kind of calling out for a different kind of, shaping the material in a different way.
right. I've
Mm,
always referred to like to think of studio albums as being an artifact. It captures you at that moment in time, but the songs themselves are living and you play them live and they change as you play them live. Let me ask you about your set list. You have 7 studio albums when this new one comes out. How do you go about building a set list?
yeah, I was going to ask you that because we need a set list now for the for the release tour, and we are not quite sure what to do. No, I'm kidding a little bit because we have in Norway we have this band called Motorcycle,
Uh-huh.
and they have this enormous collection of record that they have released through, I mean, since the mid 90s, and they are known for playing shows that last for 2 and 3 hours, and their set lists change every night. And I mean, I think that is a wonderful way of approaching the music that you have released. And we are not able to do that without rehearsing a lot.
Right,
So,
right,
but what we have done when we have played up through the years, it's become clear to us that some of it are songs that we like to play, and some of it definitely kind of brings out the best in the audience.
right.
So we come to put in a balance of what we like to play and what we feel kicks off the audience, and to build a set list that represents both the new stuff, most of the new stuff, of course, always.
Right.
But we never leave the old stuff behind. So I think in every show we play at least one. Yeah, we play a lot of songs from the old records.
Right. Right. How long are your sets usually?
That depends too, but I think 90 minutes.
90 minutes, right. Which gives you what, your 6, 7-minute songs each. So that's really you only get 12 songs maybe.
Yeah, 12, 13. It's usually about there.
Right. Which is tough. I mean, when you have as big a catalog, it's one thing when you have 2 albums to pick 12 songs, you're just doing half your songs.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, I'm excited now which songs from this latest one that is going to stick
Right.
with us.
All right, there you go. I'm going to keep my eye out. Let's talk a little bit about the live performing. How do you approach the stage different than the studio?
Well, I mean, hello, it's like coming home to your dinner table without any guests, and or going to a party. You know,
Okay.
No, it's a very different kind of focus actually, because music isn't happening unless someone's hearing what you're doing, you know. It's and the music is definitely shaped in the meeting between the audience and the artist, especially when we the scenes we play where it's never more than, or when you play festivals it's more, but I mean the average club concert is 200,
Mhm.
300, 100, 400, you know, it's about there. So then you get very intimate with your audience, and me and Ellen has long jack, so we very often go into the audience
Okay.
to play and to really check them out. So the live performance is definitely about mm, giving away the music to the audience there and then, and to really mm, take the mud and put it on their faces and clothes and let them feel it the way
Right.
that no other thing than a live act can do. But going into studio, we have more time to focus on the stuff that you kind of miss out on the show, you know, the perfectionism, maybe playing stuff exactly how you want it to be,
Mhm.
or at least more how you want it to be.
Right.
But and you have to remember that this what you're doing, you have to, in one way you have to remember that what you do at this very moment as an artifact uh, is going to stick with you and your audience for a long time. So you have to put your very, very, very best effort into it. Um,
Right.
and at the same time, you don't have to think too much about anything and
Right.
just focus on the music,
Right.
on your peers and the music, and try to shape it as well as the music deserves.
There you go. When you're live, do you are certain songs open-ended? You know that they could expand, and or is that possible for any song on the set list?
I think it was more that like that before. Before we were more like this one can go here or here, and this one can be open ended, or we can just cut it, or we were a lot more like that before. Now we are more after we played. I think actually after we played more rock scenes and alternative scenes that was not jazz scenes, we kind of tended to like we had I think we're in a phase now where we like to end the songs and play them a little more that we know a little bit more what's going to happen.
There you
But
go.
definitely the drum solo in the middle of there,
Mhm.
we don't know how that one is going to be. But at the same time, Ivar has played it so many times that he's kind of found a way that it's working, and we kind of understand where he's going, even
Right.
though it sounds different. And also the solos, things that can start out very heavy and hard. If I go very, very back, they have to react on it. If I don't play, they have to act on it. They have to go down in dynamics, and then we have to shape everything differently. So those kind of things are very open, yes. And of course, sometimes someone misses what is actually the next song on the set list, which is such a good thing, because then you really have to focus on what you're going to do
Right.
next.
Right.
So
That's I love that. I absolutely love it. You're all over Europe this year, right? That's your big thing where you're touring,
yeah, Europe mainly. We
right?
haven't we haven't been outside of Europe with this band since. I mean, we were in the States in 2014, and we were before that in Canada and Malaysia, and we were in Japan. But after that, we haven't. We have stayed in Europe.
Right. Well, the EU is great, but I guess England's out, huh?
Yeah, England's. Yeah, absolutely. We have a lot of interest from England, both in the press and. But it's still England is. Norway is a very privileged country, like money wise. They're taking. We have, things are expensive, but the salaries are high as well.
Right.
So it's affordable actually to try and make money at a mid-level
Right.
music scene like we do actually in the EU. But we definitely have a lot of interest from UK and also Italy and Germany and
Right.
Netherlands. The
Right.
Netherlands has a great music scene.
Right. Are there any festivals on the schedule for this year that you can talk about?
Yeah, we have I think one of the cool one is down the hill in Aachen in Netherlands. That is a kind of a prog festival, and I think that we have tried to set that up for many years actually, and it hasn't worked out. So this time that will happen in August. Finally, we're looking so much forward to that.
Nice.
Besides from that, it's just a couple of festivals in, I think that's Netherlands, or is it Germany? I don't remember.
We'll put links down.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It's there for
In
you.
Norway, of course, we'll play several festivals in Norway this summer.
Right.
You want to come? It's a great chance of coming to this beautiful country. Just look outside here from the window.
I see.
It is like this.
I see it. That's fantastic. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. They now let me ask you, you had in 2023, you had another trio that had a keyboard in it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I still have that trio. We also just went into the studio to record a new record.
Okay.
Yeah, but that is, I don't know if you heard about this guy called Terje Rypdal. He has been he has kind of defined. He came from the Norwegian music scene, playing with Jan Garbarek in George Russell's fantastic albums. But he kind of took his own path, combining. We had a power trio in the 80s, releasing a lot of stuff on ECM, playing with Jack DeJohnette and whatever, making a lot of fantastic music. And from about 95, the keyboard player in this band that I have another trio with, he used to be Terje Rypdal's regular organ player. So he comes from a very holy grail. He comes from my holy grail. And he is an organ player mostly, some continuum, but it's the B3. So it's me and him and a very orchestrational drummer. A lot of drums going on. And this is more like it's not all about improvisation, but it's a lot more open and a lot more spacious, improvisational, and intuitive, lesser structures, written out structures. So that is called the trio is called Wegians, which is just a short for Norwegians.
Right.
So but it's a total different expression.
And you also have an album coming out with them?
Yeah, we had an album coming out last year. That was a live album, but we just spent some time in the studio. So we have a studio album coming out. But
same label?
Same label.
Love that. Where am I going to can I pre-order a copy of the new album?
Of the trio album?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you even posted a link here somewhere.
Yeah, I will post a link down there. Yes, but we can pre-order it. It's going to be on vinyl. Is that the only format, or is it CD also?
It's going to be CD. It's going to be vinyl. It's going to be digital. And I think if you go into Rune Grammofon, the record label, and also through our website, which is myname.com, there will be available a limited edition of clear vinyl as well.
Nice. Have you ever thought about tapes? Cassettes?
Yeah. Yes, I have. And a lot of artists in Norway are doing that already, but we're not there yet.
Right. There's a band called Dr. Dog, and Scott McMinnis is their guitar player. And he has something called Press On Records that only does cassettes. He releases everything in cassettes. And I'm like, that's fascinating because it's the one format that out of all of them, it's the one that doesn't hold up. I have boxes of tapes in the basement just rusting away.
Yeah, but this is a reaction to the music industry making everything so available.
Right.
It's a reaction. This is we only make this wonderful music in 10 copies on tape.
Right.
So
what let me, before we'll wrap up in a second here, but let me get your take on AI and music.
Well, I guess should I talk about the glass being half empty, or should I talk about it being half full? Because I think you can't escape it, even though my heart says that it's kind of ruining at this moment. In these times, it's ruining the truth. not only in music. So that is going to be a challenge for humans to 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 be able to work with something that is kind of challenging what is actually true. And we're seeing the same thing with AI, of course, that they learn their AIs with stuff that we have already made. So we have kind of made learning books, but we don't get paid for that either. But I think we can't escape it, and it's, of course, it's endless with the possibilities. But I do believe more in AI and in health and in science than I do believe on AI in music.
Music. Yeah, I have a nightmare apocalyptic vision of the future of music where, and it's already happening, but like commercials no longer written by humans, just AI spits them out. Incidental music in movies, AI just spits it out. And these are the kind of jobs and things that I know have kept some musicians afloat. So they could do their love, they would do these other things, write the commercials. And I feel like that's just being taken away, and it's going to further, it's going to make it that much harder for the next, the next Dylan is out there. I don't know if I'd want to be the next Dylan, but the next Dylan is out there somewhere, but we may never hear from them because, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, I kind of believe in the good in people. So I refuse to kind of, I really, AI is a threat to the arts, as is, but we are not, we are, we can't just spend so much time on that, thinking about that. We have to think
Right.
about music,
Right.
we have to think about guitar tone, and we have to think about that song and what we're going to call that song. And as long as we have that focus, I
Right.
think, at least, I don't know, you understand that we've kind of given up, but we have to stick
Right.
with what we know, and that is what we do.
No, thank you for talking me down. um can you hang on for a sec? I'm gonna run an outro, and
Yeah.
I want to thank you off camera there. For everybody out there watching, please like, subscribe, all that jam, pod at on all the socials. We also have a .com. Leave a comment, tell us what you think, and remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long. We'll see you soon.